You want to have a Google Sheet where you have entries like this. You have days of the week, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. And you have mentioned week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and the like. Right, in here what I want to do, in a cell I want to have multiple entries by a drop down. Generally, drop down in Excel or Google Sheets, what you can do, you select something, one single entry appears there. If I want to have multiple entries. In this specific example, what we are going to do is we have a list of elements here. These are coming from this list here. You have dairy group, we have fruits, we have vegetables. Each of them have list of items, and in brackets their calorie value are mentioned here. These calories I have just selected from a website like this. So you could see I'm just getting these numbers. I'm not very specific, I just got numbers from here. So imagine if I want to put in some of those values here and I want to see the total calorie value for that cell. And that total calorie value will be stored here or will be shown here, right? So let's do an example. So I'm going to choose buttermilk. In vegetables, let's say I like beetroot, for example. And in the fruits, I'm going to take fig and then fill current. So you have all the three elements here: dairy, fruits, vegetables. You have beetroot and then fig and buttermilk. And the score is just 229. So you'll get all these values here. Let's say I made it wrong. If I just delete them, if I select the cell, delete it, you will see the score becomes 0 here, right? So you could add things here, you can change things and then play it around. This is the idea here. So if you choose, for example, you choose another cell, Wednesday week 1 or week 2. Let's say I have milk, I have papaya, and I do have okra, for example. If you fill in up, and then you get the values here and the sum is here. The point here is when we display the elements here, we want the title or the group to be in bold letters. Similarly, when they enter in the cell, we want to have them as bold. Okay, the group will be bold, the sub elements are not bold here. So how to do this? So this is what you want. You could have different sets of elements, different sets of groups, but this is what you want to do. How to do this? This is done using Google Apps Script. You need two components here. One is app script here, the other one is a HTML file. So let me explain to you these two files right now. So this part here is a HTML file. So this is the HTML file. You will see here you are calling a function called group, which is returning to you data called data group. And you are calling another function called sub elements, where you are getting data sub elements. These are two things. Then you have a form. Okay, this is the form. So this is the form which is displayed here, right? This is actual form. At the end of the form, you will see here it says fill current. It says get validation from current. So when I say fill current, it is calling a method called fill cell, right? So when I click this fill current, it's calling a method called fill cell, and the other one is going to call show dialog. So here in the form, you have some other elements here. Basically, it goes in and gets the length of the data group, which is this one. And for each of those data groups, you're going to display them as an input field, which is a checkbox. Simply, it's a checkbox. As you know, it's just a checkbox. So in the checkbox here, if you see, we are passing an ID, which is based on TH, 1 and I and J, which is this I and this J here. And the value you are passing is nothing but you have the data group value followed by the data sub-element value. And then when you want to display, you want to bold the data group, and the other one, the second part, is not bolded, correct? So this is why you will see if I go to that HTML, the diary is bold because of the bold here. Okay, there is bold elements here. The other part is not bold because I didn't bold them here, right? So this is not bolded here. And you could see break, which is just the HTML part. And if there's a problem here, it will just display that the cell doesn't have the reference for data validation. So this is what you will get. So the second file, which is your actual coding file, you have what is called on open. So when I want to open this Google Sheet, I want to bring in this menu here. So that is what is being done here. Just adding a menu, create a menu, multiple drop down, and add an item which is called show dialog. So if I click this, you see the show dialog. So when I click the show dialog, then it will display these elements here, right? You will see those elements. Basically, it's going to call the show dialog method, which is here. So let's see the show dialog method. In the show dialog method, you have HTML service, create template. You are going to call page, which is nothing but the page.html. And then you're going to show it as a sidebar, right? So this is what it is coming on the side here. So here is a group. This is the function where you're going to read criteria A2 to A22. What is that? If you go to criteria info, A2 to A22. So if you have different number of lines, you could just change the numbers there. So it gets the values from this. So basically this function, right, it is being called here. In the HTML, you call group, it's going to call this guy, and whatever it returns, it is stored in the data group variable. Next, there's a sub elements. It is again going to call this function. Sub elements is being called from the HTML page here. Sub elements function, you're calling it, and it is returned. Whatever is returned is stored in data sub elements. So it's going to go and read criteria info B2 to B22, which is basically reading this, right? I'm not reading the header, so that's why I'm reading from 2. So I'm going to read this and I'm going to store them in the data sub-elements variable. Please note that here, this is the name of the function and this is the name of the function. Once these two are read, next one is if you go to HTML, when you click on the fill current button, it's going to call fill cell with the parent node. So this is the fill cell method. Okay, let's try to understand what's happening in this fill cell. In this fill cell, what we are doing, we are going to check whether the data we are passing has a CH. What is CH coming? Where is this coming from? Basically, it is the ID which is stored. Okay, ID as a CH. So once it is there, you're going to push it into a string, and based on the length of the string, right, you're going to split the string based on a comma here. So when you want to split it based on a comma, right, then you want to see the length of each element. So basically when I'm reading, I want to read like this. I want to read this. I want to read this part. I want to read this part. I want to read this part because I need to separate them and I can just bold this part, right? So I'm trying to get basically from the colon what is the first occurrence of colon in my data, right? So I split by comma in my first data. So I go by liner array dot length. I want to see all the entries there. So let's assume you are doing this. You have 3 entries, right? So length will be 3. So 0, 1, and 2. And then you take the first one, you check the index of colon, you get this number. What is the location 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example. And then once you get this and you check if the I is 0, you store that length in the start learner array. If this is the first element, if this is not the first, if you are reading the second one, you want to add the length of the first one. Okay, you are adding the length of the first one to the starting location. So basically I'm reading the whole this plus this length here, okay, because I need to read until here, right? So you just have to provide, you're going to store what is that starting point or what is the end point of your colon. Okay, you're just reading that points there. Once you have done, now you are going to create rich text value. Please note we need a rich text. We cannot just use text because we want to make them as bold. We want to change few things there. So create a rich text, new rich text value, set text s.string. Just get the value of s. S is nothing but the data you got in. Nothing is bolded. It's all plain text. Take those values and then put them under, store them under a variable called value. Now go into a loop for the whole array, and then if it is a first element, you go and see from 0 till the length, right, length of it, length index length array, you are going to bold it, set bold true dot build. So what happens, it goes from 0 until this one, okay, because you have already got the location of or the index of colon. You go there and then you just make it as bold here. If it is not the first element, let's say if it is a second element, right, 0 is the first element, you will go in and start from the next location. So basically you want to go beyond this, you're going to go from here until you reach the end of that line. Okay, so here let's try to understand this. Start liner length I minus 1 plus 1. So what does this mean by start liner array I minus 1 basically comes from here. It's going to get the whole length here. Okay, you're going to get this. And then you are saying why I minus 1, because I'm now working on the vegetable. I'm going to look, so this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. I'm on the 1, I need to get the length of the 0th element plus 1, because it will get until this and then you go next. Okay, so next and then start array, which is the same one, plus index of this. So we are going to start from here until you get this location here, this colon here, plus 2 here. Okay, because we want to get away the previous comma as well as this location here. You want to come after the colon, not at the colon, after the colon. And then you're going to do set bold true dot build. So please remember the structure of this method here. Set text style using the value. Value is nothing but the new rich text value you have created using the string. You have to say the starting location, you have to say the ending location, end location, then you indicate what you want to do. Okay, in this example what we are trying to do, we are just going to make it as bold. Okay, you can change the color, you can change many things. You could refer to the rich text value. There are lots of methods available with which you can work on. Finally, once you have done this loop, you just say activate it, get the active range, whichever range you're working on, and say build, and that's it. Right, now once the data is entered here, okay, it is stored here, it's all done. What is the next step we need to do? I told you when you enter here you want to see the score here, right? So to do the score you're going to go here. It's calling what is called sum amounts method. You are just passing the location. Okay, so remarks is the name of that sheet. It's the name of the sheet, so you just pass this location with the remarks. You are passing in, go to sum amounts. So what it will pass now, basically if you go to the sum amounts here, what it will pass, it will say remarks. Let's say in this case it will be D4. Okay, remarks D4, this is what you will get. So once you get this from the remarks D4, I just want to read the D4 only. Okay, so this is why index dot substring index of and exclamatory. So basically it will get this part here. So if you are passing remarks D4, you will get the second part. So you get the D4 here. Now what I want to do, I want to convert remarks colon D4, so remarks exclamatory D4 into remarks exclamatory D4 colon D4, because I want to specifically mention that location. Okay, so if I want to do this, I'm just going to have the same index, which is remarks colon D4, and I'm just adding to it, concatenating a colon, and I'm also concatenating the last part, which is after the colon, right? So basically here I'm using this exclamatory because I'm going to get this added to it. So you are getting this colon this. Okay, so now I'm going to get and read the value from the remarks. What is next? I have to go in and read whatever number that exists within the brackets. Okay, because this is the structure I have used. To do that, I'm going to split my data into with terms of brackets. Okay, so this is a regular expression. I'm going to split whatever is between brackets is split out, and I'm having a loop here. Okay, I've commented some of them. So the comment here is a prompt. So when you want to run the code, you are going to test it. You can use different ways of testing. One, you can use what is called log. So when you run it, it will be displayed in the execution log here, right? Or if you want to see it as a prompt, you can use this spreadsheet app dot get UI dot prompt, and then you pass in whatever you want to check for. So I'm going to read within the brackets whatever is there, converting them into a number, and then I'm just adding them. If you don't use this number, it will just do string concatenation. It will just add like one after the other, not sum them up. So I'm getting this sum here. Once I get this sum, I'm going to store the sum in the score sheet, which is score exclamatory, and then the same cell name, because if suppose I'm going to use D4 here, here also I want to keep it on D4. Okay, that is the idea here. Same location, right? You go in and then set the value there. This is what you are doing. Imagine I don't have numbers like this. Everything is a single digit number. If it is a single digit number, I can also use this kind of approach. I can convert the string, I can split them by this, which is basically element by element, character by character. So I use a reduce and I match. If it is a number, you just take it. This is digit. Okay. If it matches that as a digit 0 to 9, you take them, you can sum them. If you do this right now, what it will do like 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 5. It will do this. Instead of doing like 149 plus 4 plus 215. Okay. So these are few things we need to understand here. So extra one more method I've added here is on edit. What I want to do, whenever I'm adding something here, right, I want the action to be done. I want the sum amounts to be calculated. So when I add something new, for example, if I'm going to do, let's say, I'm going to add here yogurt, and then let's say mango, and let's say cucumber, right? I've selected C4, right? Fill. Once I fill this here, I want to see the score here, right? How to do that? Because when I'm having a function called onEdit, it will check, I'm checking here if something is edited and the sheet I'm editing is a remark sheet, not the others. You can also cut down to which cells you want to check for. You can do that also. So I'm first checking if the index of colon is greater than 0. Okay, what does this mean by, let's say if I'm going to select multiple elements and work on, right, then automatically there will be a colon, right? If I'm selecting a single element, it will be like this, remarks colon, let's say colon A1, correct? But if I'm choosing multiple elements, it will be remarks colon, correct, A1 to A, let's say 3, for example, right? So I'm going to check whether you are selecting multiple or not. If it is multiple, then I want to go to the specific location in the score, right? Multiple, it will go here and then just make them a 0, right? Otherwise, if you are just selecting one, it's going to call the sum amounts, the same method we have seen, or the function we have seen a few minutes ago. So let me show you when does this happen here, right? So let's say if I'm going to select these two, right, go to remarks, select these two and delete. Okay, now you will see both of them have zeros. How this happens is because it's going to go here, there is a colon there, so it's going to set those values to 0. It's like you are removing them, right? So these are the basic elements of this code. I will share the code as well as the sheet so you could work it out and practice out. I hope it helps. Thank you.